A very warm good evening to one and all. Thank you so much, firstly, for Kyle and Laurie for making your valuable time to our students. Because of these changes, there are a lot of doubts and there is a lot of confirmation that our students are looking forward from you to. So today you would be addressed with a lot of questions. I hope you don't mind answering them.
Definitely, no problems.
Thank you. Pleasure is all. And hi, good evening, one and all. I really appreciate for everyone joining this session. So please keep on placing your queries in the chat window. We have our counselors who will be assisting you constantly. Meanwhile, even the Kyle sir and Laurie, everybody will answer your queries. But meanwhile, you can just put down so that we will make sure all your queries are addressed. Thank you for joining, everybody.
So just before Kyle and Laurie talks, so guys, request everyone not to use the Zoom chat window because it goes in a rapid fire round. Abhay, Kinkar, Gurmeet, please do not use the Zoom chat window and put up all your questions in Q&A window only, because it is impossible to track chat questions on Zoom window. Okay, because we have huge participants, so these are not like 1 or 2, right? We are almost closing out to 500. Just to let everyone know, we have 500 capacity, and who all don't have this, who are not able to attend the Zoom because of the restriction, please request you to go via the YouTube link. There we have already put it live, so you can always attend through that channel also, because we have a capacity of only 500 in this Zoom, right? So we are, I think, almost nearing to that number in next couple of minutes, I hope. Right, so request everyone to please use the Q&A window and do not put up in the chat window. Thank you so much, Kyle and Laurie, for taking out your time, and all over to NASBA and AICPA.
All right, thanks, Shripal. And so I'll let Laurie give an introduction, and then I'll give a brief introduction about myself as well.
Okay, hello everyone. Thanks for joining today. My name is Laurie Kelly. I work with the AICPA. I am a lead manager. I am also a CPA on the CPA exams team. I work primarily on content development for the FAR exam, but with Evolution, I'll also be working to support the BAR exam. And I'll be happy to share some information with you regarding what you can likely expect with Evolution, which is launching in January. So thanks for joining us, and happy to answer any of your questions. Kyle?
All right, thank you. And I'm Kyle Barrier. I'm with NASBA International Evaluation Services. I'm the Associate Director. I deal a lot with the day-to-day operations of our evaluation services, and looking forward to giving you this information because we have a lot of stuff coming up soon with deadlines. There's some transition relief, so a lot of things going on, and we hope to give you that information and help clarify anything for you as well. So with that, I will start to share my screen. Give me one moment. Okay. And so with the AICPA here, Laurie will be covering a lot of the evolution and the new content. And let's get started. So just a brief overview. I'm going to start with some basic eligibility requirements and some guidance. Talk about the transition information, the BEC exam, which will no longer be offered after December 15th of 2023. And let's really talk about those exam deadlines that are quickly approaching. And then I'll turn it over to AICPA to touch on CPA evolution with the new model, exam content and structure, exam strategy, and candidate resources. So first off, let's recap what it takes to be a US CPA. So what we commonly refer to as the 4 E's. You have the education requirement, the examination requirement, which is passing the CPA exam, the experience requirement, which is generally 1 to 2 years of work experience under a US CPA, And some states may have an ethics exam that you also have to pass once you pass the CPA exam. So if you have simply passed the CPA exam and that is it, you cannot call yourself a US CPA. That's a big hurdle, but you still have to have the work experience and the education, which is the 150 overall, to get the license. So my department, NASBA International Evaluation Services, is that first step for you. Since you obtained higher education outside the United States, you first go through us to get it equated to the US education system so that the Board of Accountancy can determine that eligibility and process that notice of schedule for you so you can start taking those exams. Just talk about some updates with our area. And this will tie in with the deadlines that I cover later. But once you apply for that service, you mail us your educational documents. It's taking right at about 2 weeks for us to match that mail with your application and update you and then start that evaluation. And then approximately 6 weeks for us to finalize the evaluation report. So that's an 8-week total time to get that international evaluation report. And also wanted to cover some of the education. We see a lot of India education now. It's grown pretty well over the last 3 years since we started testing in India in June of 2020. So we see a lot of the BCom, a lot of BCom, MCom, BCom with chartered accounting. You see all the other degree combinations. But what I really wanted to touch on is the guidance for what state should you apply to. And that's where Shripal's team, Simandhar Education, I've met with them several times in the past. They are really good about guiding you and knowing what jurisdictions are a fit, what jurisdictions do not require a U.S. Social Security number, things like that. So it's good to lean on someone like them so they can help guide you to where you need to go. And they are really familiar with the combinations and what states you can go to and potentially get that eligibility. So let's talk about some transition relief that is happening. And here you'll see a map. NASBA likes to post. We have a lot of maps that we put on the website. And this one has not changed yet, but you see it's overwhelmingly, the boards have approved to basically extend credit. If you have valid CPA section credit as of January 1st, 2024, so for example, if you just passed the FAR section 3 months ago, that credit is valid for 18 months. So you will definitely still have that credit on January 1st, 2024. It is being extended automatically to June of 2025. So that's part of that credit relief. And all of the boards of accountancy have pretty much adopted and approved that. You see the gold colored jurisdictions, this is California, Arizona, Florida, Michigan. The board has approved it, but they are still waiting to get that in their rules. And it's they have to go through a rulemaking process. So it's not quite final, but the board has approved it already. Only one jurisdiction, which is Maine, the board has not met to vote on that. So we haven't received the update. We don't really see that to be a problem with all the other states on board, but I just wanted to share that information with you. So that's great for all the candidates that currently have credit. And so what is happening with those sections? And this is the only slide I really have on the evolution. Lori will get really a little more in depth with this, but this has been out there for a while. I think it's worth covering again. So currently you have the CPA exam. It consists of the 4 sections. You have audit, FAR, regulation, and BEC. And so with the new CPA exam, there's still going to be 4 sections that you have to pass, but BEC will be going away. After December 15th, 2023, you can no longer take BEC. And what that is turning into is, you see on this graphic, 3 disciplines, and you choose one of those disciplines. So you have BAR, business analysis and reporting. You have ISC, which is information systems and controls, and you have TCP, which is tax compliance and planning. So you still have to pass the 3 core sections, which is audit, FAR, and reg. And then you choose one of the disciplines. So what area you may be more passionate about, you think you may be better at, you get to choose one. So let's look at the timeline of everything that is happening in 2023. So we are closing in on August. So a lot of this has happened. The new exam blueprints are out there with the AICPA. And Lori will cover some of that too. We've had some meetings with review course providers. We've reassessed these transition dates. The new sample test is almost ready to come out. And the big one internally at NASBA is we are launching a new system that's actually replacing CPA Central to take applications. We call it our Gateway 3.0. It will streamline things for you as far as your user account, so that's a great thing. And that is on track to launch on September 1st. So I'll cover a little bit of information about some deadlines and dates for that. So that's more internal facing that we're dealing with and migrating data. And then the big deadline where you can no longer test, it'll be October 1st, where you have to get your applications in for the state board as a first-time candidate. Because as of December 15th, that's when the blackout, or December 16th is when the blackout begins. You can no longer test for any CPA sections December 15th and until the new year. And so you could actually get a notice of schedule for the new disciplines starting on November 27th. So that's when you can first start applying for those. So a nice little timeline here. Let's talk about that new system that's happening. So you may have seen some language we posted on the website about a July 28th date. We tweaked that slightly. We didn't want to be from our initial language, but what's happening is we're encouraging you, if you've already had an international evaluation report and you're ready to get started, go ahead and apply in CPA Central by July 28th and make sure that they have all your documents. That way there's less data for us to migrate to our new system. If you can't do that, that's okay. You'll still have opportunity leading up to October 1st. But what's happening is the CPA portal is replacing CPA Central, and that will be in our gateway system. It will streamline the process for candidates, so you're not having to create so many user accounts. It's one less user account because you also use that same one to get your notice of schedule, to get your scores and all that. So what will happen though is while we're migrating that data and getting the new system up and running, there will be a dead period from August 21st to 28th where you will not be able to apply. So just wanted to get that out there. About a week, a little bit less than a week, where we're actively migrating the data and getting the new system up and running. Also, something really important is the National Candidate Database, where you can print your notice of schedule and see your scores. That will be down as we work on this new system from August 25th to 28th. And so if you have an exam scheduled during that time, it is really important that you download and print your NTS before Friday, August 25th. So let's talk about the timelines. I've mentioned some of it, but on November 15th, you won't be able to get a notice of schedule for BEC. So that's where these deadlines come into play of October 1st, applying for the CPA exam with the Board of Accountancy. That gives the board time to determine your eligibility and issue the notice of schedule to you by November 15th or before, so that you can actually schedule that BEC exam by December 15th or before that date. So it's still not a lot of time for you. So we ask you just do not procrastinate. If you're ready to get started, get started now. So on November 22nd, our gateway system stops processing the ATTs, which is an authorization to test. It starts processing them for the new disciplines. And then there's the December 15th date where last day of testing in 2023, we will resume again on January 10th with the new CPA exam. So I've also got some charts here for each board of accountancy. Most boards are on the same deadline of October 1st to take to apply and have your documents submitted. you must have all those documents submitted as well. That will give us time to determine the eligibility and issue the notice of schedule. Now, these dates are mostly that October 1st is first-time candidates. If you are a candidate that has already been deemed eligible and have taken any section in the past, you have a little more time because we don't have to determine eligibility again. You have a November 12th cutoff date to apply as what we call a re-exam candidate for the BEC section. So audit, FAR, and reg, those are continuing into 2024. So we will continue to process those. And if you get a notice of schedule, it'll still be valid for 6 months. And if you're not able to test in 2023, you can still take those 3 core sections in 2024. So I got a chart and I highlighted the jurisdictions that we see the international applicant volume. So there still are boards that have not told us a deadline. And those are Alabama, Arizona, Arkansas, Idaho, Illinois, Kentucky, Maryland, Mississippi, Nevada, North Carolina, North Dakota, Virginia. Primarily what I see international candidates, Arizona, Illinois, and North Dakota. So they have not given us a deadline like the other jurisdictions have. If you see the biggest group, including Alaska, California, there's Guam, Montana, New Mexico, Washington. They're all on that October 1st deadline to apply for the CPA exam. And then at the very bottom, a few jurisdictions, we don't really see international candidate volume for those very much, but they're on different deadlines. So we will update things and send communication out once we get information from those states like Arizona, Illinois, and North Dakota. We should be hopefully getting that soon. And we will update that.
So unfortunately, Kyle, if I see that international candidates all have October 1st, right? Technically, all the state boards of international candidates, if I see, right, mostly Washington, Guam, Alaska, California, many of them have October 1st. I don't think so anyone outside the international states have November 1st deadline because they are all requiring SSI.
The only ones could be Arizona, Illinois, North Dakota. We don't know what date they'll come back with yet, but we do see international volume for them. So that's the date I would plan on is October 1st. And so you would need to have the completed international evaluation report by October 1st so that you can apply with the CPA exam services for the CPA exam. We automatically.
So Kyle, for the benefit of the students, I would want to kind of ask one question is, when you tell the evaluation report has to be completed before September 30th, do they also need to apply in CPA Central or just their evaluation report is completed, that is sufficient?
They have to do both. That's a great point. So they have to get the completed international evaluation report and apply in the CPA Central, or it'll be CPA portal at that time. They have to submit the application and any other relevant documents. If you have a US master degree, or if that state requires a notarization form, not a lot do, but some require extra documents. You'll see that in the application process. So make sure you're getting everything submitted by that October 1st date.
So I repeat that again for all the candidates who are watching us on YouTube and on the Zoom. Before September 30th, you need to get your evaluation report completed and you also need to apply in CPA Central, but you don't need to get NTS before September 30th. I repeat that again because they have asked 500 times in another ways. So I am just repeating this again. You don't need to get the NTS before September 30th. Is my understanding right, Kyle, on that? Yes,
you are correct.
Guys, you just need to apply and pay the application fees and the exam fees, not the... so Kyle, do they also need to pay international testing fees? No, they just need to pay the application fees and the exam, the CPA exam fees in the CPA Central. That's all.
Correct, because they cannot pay those international testing fees until they are issued the notice of schedule.
Yes, so till they don't get an NTS, you cannot pay the international testing fees. So that NSSO account and all those things are not applying for you guys. You just need to ensure that you just pay the application fees and the exam fees. So the idea is get the evaluation report as soon as possible. I think that is the most important point because application will just take 1 minute or 2 minutes. The moment they get the report, they'll need to pay the fees. That's it.
Yeah, and our reports are automatically and instantly shared with the boards of accountancy. So They don't have to worry about any mailing time for our reports. Once the report's done, the board has it, so they need to do that application.
So, Kyle, I just wanted to know, can you show for the benefit of the student, what is that application? Because whenever NASBA writes apply, right? Because many of them ask me, because is the CPA Central will still be there after July 28th or CPA Central will go away? How's it?
CPA Central will go away. It will be CPA Portal, which is part of the gateway.
Okay.
So they are creating that account and paying the fee. So you don't just simply create the account, you create
Do
the
we
account.
have any demo of that, Kyle, just for the benefit of the student if they want to see the CPA portal after they get the evaluation report?
So not yet, because
Okay.
we are actually in the UAT process. It will not be live until September 1st. But
Okay.
I believe we will be able to have a demo, hopefully, or at least maybe if not a demo, screenshots that we could share.
So
Because
till
they will
September
be
1st, then
ongoing.
they will just apply in CPA Central once they get the evaluation report.
Yeah, up until August 21st, they apply to CPA Central. After that, we do have the week of the dead period as we migrate to the new gateway, which will be CPA Portal.
Oh, so guys, just hear this out. August 21st to August 30th, there is no application there in the NASBA, right? Kyle, we will not be
Correct.
processing any applications from 21st to 30th.
Yeah, and we'll have that language on our website. We already started putting it. We just didn't put the blackout week yet because that's just for system migration and getting the new CPA portal up and ready to accept all the applications for the CPA exam.
And this rules apply to California also, because California, there are a lot of fans of California. So they keep asking because California follows their own rules. So that's where we just want to check, is California also in line with that September 30th thing and even the extension and all those stuff? Because I heard that January 1st, 2024, the new 18 months extension, not the 30 months, because they are also getting confused with one 30-month rule and one January 2024 fresh 18 months rule, right? So that fresh 18 months rule, does it apply to California also, Kyle, or not?
So the board has approved it. That was in, let me find that previous map. So this is the map for the fresh 18-month rule that you're talking about that starts on January 1st, if they have credit for a section. California has approved it. You see over here, this is where California is.
Yeah.
And the board's approved it, but they just have to make it in the rule. So we don't see any issues with that. Now, I will keep in mind, I know California gets a high volume of international candidates. They do require a U.S. Social Security number at the CPA licensure stage. So keep that in mind. That could create some obstacles. Whereas a lot of other jurisdictions like Arizona, Washington, New Mexico, Montana do not require it for exam or license. So just keep that in mind. We always like to encourage the end in mind when you start it, because that is the goal, to obtain the license.
I think that's one of the reasons, because a lot of them want to travel to California, so they think that we should select California. So I've been telling the student it doesn't work out like that.
Yeah,
so you can write the exam from any state board and later transfer the scores, but relatives and a lot of pressure, right, Kyle? So they say, you're coming to California, you write from California. So I've been educating them on that, but still there are a few people who have selected California board. So I think this is important for them to know that the credit extension policy applies. Again, guys, this is not 30 months policy. 30 months extension has not been accepted by a single state board, I think, except New Jersey, right, Kyle? Other than that, no one have accepted.
I have a map. I'll cover that coming up soon.
Sure.
And so that's actually, I also, what's going to be important is after the next couple slides, I do have some deadlines for the international evaluation part. But let me cover a little bit about the 30 months since you mentioned that. So how this came about is NASBA did an exposure draft, and they got a lot of comments back in April. And so what happened was we actually looked at extending it from 18 months to possibly 24. That was something that we advised. And then a lot of comments came back. And then after that, what we did was we put in the UAA that suggesting to extend credit from the 18 months that every board currently has to 30 months. So once you pass your first CPA exam section, you would potentially have 30 months to pass the remaining 3. So now it's up to the boards of accountancy to adopt this. And so what's happening right now is boards are starting to review it. And there's actually one. I don't see New Jersey. So there's a lot that have voted to go to it, but it's not final yet. New Jersey or Puerto Rico, which has a residency requirement, so none of your candidates will apply there, but they're the only one that's currently at that.
Oh,
You
because
see all
I
the other-
heard New Jersey also accepted that, but okay. Because they,
Yeah,
I think they
if
have
you
just
see New
accepted
Jersey
the
on the map, they voted. They
Okay.
accepted it in the vote, but it's not final yet. It has to like go through all the red tape to making it final. And so you see a lot of other boards.
So Kyle, for the benefit of
Arizona-
the student, right? How much time does it take for a rule to be implemented? So normally is it 1 year? When does that 30-month rule will apply? Will it apply to next year candidates or after 2024, or how's it?
And so that's still to be determined, and it can be a little bit different by each board. Some boards could choose to go retroactive slightly. We don't know. We don't have the information yet. So this is still pretty new. We will keep updating this information. And I don't know the rulemaking process. I'm not a legal expert, but I know sometimes it does take a while. Maybe longer for some states than others. I'm not sure, but you see it is gaining traction by this map. And we'll look for other boards to vote on this soon as well. So we'll I'm sure we'll have this on our website. And this is as of June 22nd. So that's 3 weeks old, or getting 4 weeks almost. But just wanted to share this right now because it is gaining some traction, and we'll see what happens in the near future.
So that means most of them have voted in the international states. Can you let us know, Kyle, most of them have voted there or no?
Not quite yet for the international. You see Arizona, I know they have a high volume, so they have voted to go to it. Montana and Washington have not voted yet. And I don't see
Guam, Kyle, no.
Guam is not yet. You see Guam is down. Guam is down.
Okay, so
here.
guys, bad news. No one have voted for 30 months for now, right? So you will need to wait till next year for that 30-month rule to apply. I hope this kind of clarifies, because they have been asking this question also many times, guys. They have not spared me on Instagram, on LinkedIn, everywhere, wherever I am. This 30 months rule is also following with me. So I just hope this kind of clarifies the student that at least this year, though, we can't see 30-month rule apply.
Yes, not yet, but it is in the works, and like I said, it's up to the boards of accountancy to adopt it, and it looks like a lot are in the process of that. We'll keep you guys updated as we get more information from the boards. And so once the new exam launches in 2024, what will happen is that it won't be continuous testing right off the bat. So this is something in 2024 with evolution. So you've got the core dates of where you can take the core sections. Starting January 10th is when testing resumes, January 10th, 2024. You can take those 3 core sections, audit, FAR, reg, through March 26th. And you won't get the score as quickly as initially. So the scores will come out on June 3rd for those core sections. And if you choose to take a discipline, you see it's a little bit shorter of a window. Those are only offered from January 10th to February 6th. And then you get your the score on April 23rd. So the hope is once they analyze all the data to go back to continuous testing, but it won't be right off the bat. You see for 2024, there will be some windows. So just wanted to get that out there. So to talk about, and I apologize, I thought I had a slide in here. I guess I did not add the slide because my next one is a Q&A. But what I really wanted to hit on was with the International Evaluation Report. So we talked about the October 1st deadline to apply for the CPA exam. Well, if you need the International Evaluation Report, you have to have that first. And the deadline for your candidates will be August 4th. That's Friday, August 4th, to apply for the international evaluation and to have your documents arrive at NASBA. So that gives us, if we need it, up to the 8 weeks to make sure we can finalize the report and have it before October 1st available to you, so you can then apply for the CPA exam. So
So technically, if I want to summarize this, so all the students should be submitting the transcripts and everything by August 4th to NASBA so that they can get the report before September 30th. Is that understanding right, guys?
yes, exactly. Now that's just the ones that I'm confident we will be able to get through. No guarantee if you do it later than August 4th. I mean,
So August
we may
August
not be able to
4th
get
is to
to it.
reach them. August 4th is to reach you or to dispatch.
To reach us. It has to arrive at NASBA by August 4th.
So August 2nd is what, guys, you need to ship. So at least it will take 2 days to reach to the US, considering that they'll use FedEx through student discounts and all those stuff. So I'm expecting by August 1st or August 2nd, they'll ship it to you, and August 4th is what it has to reach to NASBA.
Correct.
Okay.
So before I turn it over to Lori, we'll have a little QA at the end. So Shripa, I don't know if you want to wait till the end to do all the Q&A. Would probably be best since it took over 30 minutes.
Yeah, we can take the AICPA, then Lori can, or Anuya, do you want to take a few questions before we move to Lori?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
There are again constant questions that are being repeatedly asked in the QA window. This is again, once again, Kyle, I just want you to brief on the 30 months because there is again and again the question coming up. One final time, please, if you don't mind.
Yeah, no problem. And I'll pull up the slide that goes along with that. So the 30 months is not, it's not active yet. So that was a suggestion by NASBA. We put it in the UAA, and it's up to each board of accountancy that issues the license to adopt the 30-month rule. So if you look at this map, all the ones in blue haven't even voted or addressed it quite yet. I'm sure they're talking about it, but it's not a formal vote. The ones in gold have voted to actually change to 30 months from 18 months. It's not final yet. It has to go through a process with the legal, the red tape and all that to get finalized. And so there are none in green except for Puerto Rico who have actually already implemented it. So no one's currently at that except for Puerto Rico, but there are several, more than 10 that have already voted to go to it, and it just has to go through that process. So I would still plan on the 18 months. You do get that if you have a valid credit as of January 1st, 2024, that will get extended until June of 25. And then we don't know exactly what will happen if the boards do approve to go to 30 months. Obviously, once they approve it, if you pass a section, you'll have 30 months if you're under that board of accountancy. Not sure if they would do anything retroactive. Maybe not. I wouldn't count on that, but it would be just a nice surprise if any of that happened. So a lot of stuff behind the scenes with NASBA, getting in touch with these boards, meeting with them, talking with them, answering questions, and seeing how they want to do it. So I hope that was helpful.
Thank you so much, Kyle. Kyle, and one more question.
So before that, Anuya, just for the benefit of everyone, to explain the difference between 18 months rule, 30 months rule, and existing 18 months rule. So guys, first comes the existing 18 months rule. So NASBA and AICPA. So we have a rule that if you pass the CPA exam, say you have written the exam in the month of February, and you get the result in the month of March, from February, you have 18 months of time to pass the other 3 sections. Okay, so this was the original rule of NASBA. Because of 2024 changes and all, so what NASBA said that if you have any credit which is unexpired, right, on January 1st, 2024, NASBA will give you a fresh 18 months extension. Right. So by default, if your credit is not expiring, say, or your credit is not expiring, say, by January 1st, 2024, technically you will be given another 18 months. So strictly talking, you have this year, say, we are in July. So 6 months of this year, and next from January, you have another 18 months. So you have 24 months, provided your credit is expiring this month or next month. Right. So this rule anyways doesn't make much sense if you're writing the exam, say, by November or December, because technically you anyways used to have 18 months of time. Right. So this is the second thing. Third thing is we have a 30 months rule. So if you have written the exam, say in January, and you get the result in February, from January, you have 30 months time to pass the other 3 sections. This 30-month rule have still not come into existence. It is still in discussion, and we don't even know, because this is a rule change. A rule goes to the governor, this, that. So it's a very big process in itself. So this might take 1 year of time also. It cannot happen instantly. Be prepared mentally for 1 year, so that you don't ask questions to us again and again that state board will do tomorrow or day after or 1 month. Be ready mentally for 1 year. Okay, cool guy.
Kyle, this is one more question that we have keep getting it. So this documents that needs to reach NASBA by August 4th, is it only for BEC or rest of the 3 subjects as well?
So that's a great question. So it's definitely for BEC, because if they want to take BEC, they have to do it in 2023. So that means they have to apply to NASBA International Evaluations by August 4th and have their documents to us by August 4th as well. And that allows them to apply with CPA for the CPA exam by October 1st, so they can get the notice of schedule and take BEC in 2023. Now, if they want to take audit in 2023, it would also apply to them. But if they want to take audit, reg, or FAR, they can get the notice of schedule this year, and it goes into 2024 as well, where the BEC notice of schedule stops on December 15th. So usually that notice of schedule is valid for 6 months. However, if they're applying for BEC, there will be language on the notice of schedule that says it's only valid till December 15th. So if they get the notice of schedule on November 1st, it's only valid until December 15th.
Oh, so that means they need to pay for the BC exam again, is it?
Well, the BEC is going away, so they would have to take one of the disciplines in 2024.
This is very new. Okay, this is very informative, guys. So I think, guys, if you are finding it very aggressive, I mean pressureful to apply for BEC, then I would request to apply for audit then, right? Because I think
if they apply for audit and they get a notice of schedule on November 1st, they'll be valid going into, let's say, April, or the 6 months from November 1st into 2024. They can also take audit in 2024 at that same notice of schedule.
But Kyle, tell me, what about the evaluation report? That also needs to come before 30, because anyways, audit is not changing next year. So technically that doesn't make sense either ways, even if they just don't need to meet the deadline. Technically, strictly talking, because audit doesn't have any changes also 2024.
Yeah, okay. And Lori will talk about those sections. I mean, there may be some slight things that happen, but I don't want to speak on that. I'm not an expert with the content, but she will go over that. But yeah, the big thing is the BEC, it will no longer be available. So if you want to take BEC, you have to schedule that exam with the Prometric Test Center and take it by December 15th. And I would encourage them to not procrastinate and try to do it that last week, because the test center availability, it might be high demand in your area.
So I think then BEC should be written most probably by November, December only, guys. That's what it is, because December 15th, there will be a lot of rush. So please plan it. I mean, this was such an important information, right, Kyle? I think this is the right time I've set this up as a thing, because all the students were very curious on how to plan for the exam. I think this webinar will be really helpful for them to plan this properly. Now, tell me, Kyle, one question is on the audit side. If they want to write audit before December 15, would it be still like they'll need to apply before September 30th? No, right? That is only for BEC, if I'm not wrong.
Yeah, it's primarily for BEC, but there's still no testing December 16th through January 9th.
Yeah, makes sense. Yeah.
So it really applies to all, but if they're a little bit later with audit, and they don't get the notice of schedule until November 30th, that will be valid going in for 6 more months going into 2024. So it's not as critical.
And when does the NTS stop for Kyle for other 3 sections, like regulation and audit and FAR, like we have for BEC, right?
Yeah, so the gateway does stop processing. Let me 1 second. I will pull that slide back up to make sure I get the date right.
And while Kyle is looking for the date, I just want to clarify to everyone that even though the credit for, if you don't have credit for odd and you have a notice to schedule before the start of 2024, the odd test that's in the field in December of 23 is not going to be the same as what is in 24. So even though the section names odd, far, and reg remain the same, they will have different blueprints that have different content based on the practice analysis research that we did. So that's very important for you to know. There's changes that will take effect in every section starting in January 2024.
Okay.
And so I found, Shripal, I found that information. So audit, FAR, and reg ATTs, which is the authorization to test that generates a notice of schedule, will continue to process. So those continue to process. It's just, if they get it in December, you know, they're not going to have a lot of time to schedule, especially with everyone trying to test up until December 15th. But that's still valid going into 2024. They can use it in 2024 for those 3 core sections.
So that means audit, FAR, and reg ATTs continue, right? So NTS keeps continuing. So there is strictly no deadline for NTS for audit, FAR, and reg. But it's just that the December 15 deadline is very important, right? Okay.
Correct, because like Lori said, there is some change in the content. So if they want to test in 2023, you know, then they have to follow. I mean, I would stick with October 1st because they're not going to have a lot of time once they get the notice of schedule, if they apply after that, to contact the test center and find an open seat to test. But they do continue for the 3 core sections.
Yeah. Okay.
So if you look at it on the November 15th date is when our gateway system stops processing BEC. So there will be no BEC notice of schedules generated after November 15th, which is why that October 1st deadline is critical, because that gives
So
the staff time.
what about Kyle, if they have got the NTS by 1st November, but they don't get any seat on Prometric for December 2023, will they have to get another NTS and pay fees again, or how's it?
So are you talking about for BEC?
Yeah, BEC, if they are not having, if they wanted to schedule, but there are no seats.
Yeah, so right now, you know, and I mean, there's always talk about things that can happen, but right now, yeah, they would lose that money for BEC, and they would have to get they would have to take a discipline. So, you know, we're still talking about details within NASBA, you know, it's, but yeah, so, I mean, if they can't find a seat, that's why we just don't want people to wait. We don't want that scenario to happen. Or like they may have to travel a little bit further to a different test center depending on demand. So, you know, it's kind of hard for me to predict that, but yeah, BEC, they can't go into 2024 with BEC like they can the other 3 core sections. So that's a big deal. That's why we say, you know, get started now. So you're don't have as big a risk with that.
Does make sense. Sure, guys.
All right.
Yes, Anuyan, next.
So once again, this question is from the students. So in case, usually the report, once the documents reach NASBA, it takes 8 weeks for them to receive the evaluation report. But because of this changes, will NASBA assure us that if the documents are reached to the NASBA evaluation board before 4th, will the student get the report without failure?
So that's why I put the date in. So I have, you know, I've got staff I can flex around, and I actually created a question in their user account for those that plan to take BEC in 2023, because usually everything we do is chronological order, but I could flex around because if there's some that don't plan on that, maybe I get to some others first. So I'm working on things and working to get extra capacity. So that's why I put this date in. They make sure to give us that 8 weeks, because 8 weeks from August 4th goes to that September 30th. So that's why I'm putting these dates out there, so that we can get to that report and finish it for the candidate so that they can meet these deadlines.
Okay, thank you, Kyle. And is there any relaxation that NASBA wants to give for the students who are struggling to get their documents from the universities on time because of these changes?
Relaxation as far as what type? I'm sorry,
I mean,
didn't-
in getting the documents, as we know that there are certain set of documents that students has to get from their universities, and this challenge is only being faced by most of the graduates who have recently passed out. So they are still yet to receive their convocations and all. So is there any anything that NASBA wants to come up with so that students can?
And I think that's where the Simandhar team can help advise, because like if they're a recent graduate, they're not having to get the convocation certificate. They get the passing or the provisional certificate, and we will accept that if it's recent. And then, just knowing the Board of Accountancy rules for which state you're applying to and what they accept. If you're not a recent graduate, but you don't have the convocation certificate, you either need to get it or there's maybe a state that allows for like in progress education or that doesn't require the bachelor equivalence for exam, but it will for license. So you just may have to update your report before then. So I think your team knows a lot of those details too. I know I've dealt with Shripa with that. So there are options for that. So just I would encourage them to work with someone like your team.
Thank you so much for that feedback.
So Kyle, one problem is on the convocations. Request everyone not to use the Zoom chat window. I've been telling again and again because it will not serve the purpose, because no one is reading your messages. Just to let you know, please put up in the Q&A window. We are solving there all the question one by one. As and when Kyle is talking, Anuya, Swati, and all other from our team are responding there. Doesn't make sense if you keep on putting that on the chat window because we'll definitely not be able to track that. Okay, so Kyle, one question is like there are a lot of challenges in getting the convocation certificate. So can they submit the provisional certificate in this case, and can they get a relaxation here if they're not having the degree certificate? Because if in order to apply for convocation certificate, see, typically in India, 80% of the students don't apply for degree convocation certificate, right? So that is the reason why I'm asking. So will the provisional be okay for NASBA, or how's it?
So we don't have a change with that yet. So I don't honestly foresee one, except for more recent graduates within 2 years of completing those final exams. We do accept the provisional because we know it is a time-consuming process for schools. But if you graduated 5-6 years ago and never got that, we do want that convocation certificate to make sure that the degree was awarded, line it up with Board of Accountancy education requirements, which typically require a degree. So if you're facing an obstacle with that, maybe there is an option to get your foot in the door with a state that doesn't initially require it for exam eligibility, but it will be required for licensing eligibility. So that's probably the only advice I could give for that. So I hope that's helpful.
Okay, so for now, then they'll have to get the degree certificate also. Okay, so guys, please use the Q&A window. We'll keep responding there. And Laurie, over to you.
Great, thank you. Kyle,
Thank you so
would
much,
you
Kyle.
mind putting forward to the next slide, please? So I'm going to speak about CPA evolution and why we have come to this point. So NASBA and the AICPA have acknowledged that there's been exponential growth in standards, rules, and regulations, and the body of knowledge required of those newly licensed CPAs is continuing to evolve. And so for the exam has to evolve with that. And basically, the new model, which I'm sure most of you are familiar with, starts with a common core that all candidates, regardless of which path they'll choose, will have to take. And then they have the opportunity to select one of the 3 disciplines. And as Kyle mentioned, this will be launching in January 2024. If you move on to the next slide. The research that we conducted really focused on what knowledge and skills are required of newly licensed CPAs. And of course, technical accounting is at the core and is very important to all newly licensed CPAs in the work that they do. But we've also learned that digital and a data-driven mindset, having the ability to work with data analytics is critically important, as that is continuing to evolve in practice as well. IT and cybersecurity, problem solving and critical thinking, as well as making sure you understand business processes and internal controls. So all of this information that we received made its way into developing the new blueprints. So basically, every one of you will have to take 3 core sections. And the core sections are the knowledge and skills that all candidates need, regardless of which path they choose. And it's a strong core within topics in accounting, audit, and tax, as well as technology that's embedded through all of the exam sections. Then you'll have the opportunity to take one of the 3 disciplines. No longer is it the same 4 sections for every candidate. You now have a choice, whether it be tax compliance and planning, business analysis and reporting, or information systems and controls. And I'll talk a little bit more about what each of those sections really mean. But I want to reiterate that there's no order for you to take these exams. You don't have to take all 3 core sections before taking one of the disciplines, and it still leads to the same CPA license. It's one CPA license, regardless if you pass the exam in 2023 and before, or if you pass it in 2024 and beyond. It's still the same license that gives you the same rights, responsibilities, and privileges that the license does today. And we really think that this is adaptable and flexible. As practice evolves, so can the exam. Moving forward, Kyle. So what we did when we were developing the new blueprints was use these guiding principles that the core really needs to assess the knowledge and skills that are required of all newly licensed CPAs, regardless of which discipline or path that they choose. And then the discipline section will assess the knowledge and skills that are applicable to that discipline for the work of newly licensed CPAs, not as if you're a specialist with 10 years of experience. It's still at that 1 to 2 year experience level, which hasn't changed from the current exam today. So I want to go through, I know that we don't have that much time, but it's important to note what is changing and what is staying the same. So as I mentioned, it's still designed to be at that entry level or newly licensed level at 1 to 2 years of experience. There will be no new education requirements. You'll have to pass all 4 sections. However, they can be taken in any order. And then we've been talking a lot about the 18th month rule, and Kyle gave a lot of clarity as to how that's changing. If you have credit before the end of the year, you'll have an additional 18 months. And then states are working through the process now to adopt the 30-month rule, which is a long process, as Kyle mentioned, and but keep your eye on that. Candidates do not have the opportunity to pass more than 1 discipline. So if you take TCP and you pass, that'll be the discipline that goes along with your license. But the discipline passed does not designate you in any way as being different from any other candidate who passed a different section. So I hope that you all are familiar with the exam blueprints, but if you aren't, they're very informative and they really will provide you with a lot of information to help you strategize your studying. As I mentioned, the odd, FAR, and reg exams will have the same names, but starting in 2024, the underlying content will be different based on the research that we conducted. And the blueprints will show you all of that. It'll give you information about the content and the skill weighting. It'll have a long list of representative tasks that might get you familiar with what you could be expected to see when you sit for the exam, and they relate to the work that newly licensed CPAs are expected to know or do in practice. And then there's a listing of authoritative references so that you have an understanding of the body of knowledge that you'll be tested on. So if we move forward, there's an example. This is a detailed example of one of the blueprints. This is the ODD blueprint, and it shows area 3, which is performing further procedures and obtaining evidence. You can see that 30 to 40% of the ODD exam will be concentrated in the material that is in area 3. And one of the groups here is the use of data and information, and then there's 3 underlying topics along with the representative tasks. And this is really great information for you when you're looking at, where are your strengths, where are your weaknesses, have an idea of what you can expect when you sit on the exam. And then if you look, there's a skill, and every representative task is married to a skill. So remember and understanding an application will be tested usually through multiple choice. Remember and understanding is always multiple choice. Then application could be tested either through a multiple choice question or a task-based simulation. But then if you see anything at the analysis or evaluation skill level, you're always going to see that content tested in a task-based simulation. So having that information is really valuable for you to strategize your study plans when you're preparing. So what we found out as part of our research, which was necessary to make any changes to the exam, is that, and this shouldn't be a surprise to any of you, that the focus of data and technology is important for newly licensed CPAs to perform work as a CPA. So it's really related to understanding how data is structured and how it flows through underlying systems and business processes. That's going to be embedded in the exams, specifically in ODD, as well as the ISC discipline. Understanding methods to transform data to make it useful for decision making. That's really going to be tested in ODD and the BAR discipline. Verifying the completeness and accuracy of source data, that'll be tested throughout all exam sections, because you have to make sure that what you're using is complete and accurate, or else you're not going to get the correct answer. And then using the outputs of automated tools and techniques to either assess risk when planning procedures, prepare financial statement or account analysis or tax returns and supporting schedules, and then identifying trends and patterns and anomalies so that you can look into them and resolve any issues. So that really will be new content that is being incorporated into the exam come 2024, because it's very relevant to the work that is expected of newly licensed CPAs, and therefore is important that we assess on the exam. So the information systems and controls and the tax planning, tax compliance and planning disciplines will include some new content areas that have never been tested in the exam before. Specifically with ISC, that probably is the largest area of new content, and it's going to focus on, as you would expect, information systems and controls, whether it be IT infrastructure, platform or services, of course, cybersecurity or all security with the IT systems, confidentiality and privacy, as well as the SOC engagements, which are system organization control engagements. That all is going to be new content in the information systems and controls discipline. And then for tax compliance and planning, personal financial planning is included in TCP, which is an area that we hadn't previously tested in the exam, other than with the introduction of evolution in 2024. So that's really where you're going to see the majority of the new content. Now, for business analysis and reporting, this is really geared for candidates, and you have a choice on what you think you're most passionate about, where your interest lies, maybe where you are going to start your career. So business analysis and reporting is really geared towards candidates that want to do financial statement audits or financial statement and business analysis. It could be working in client accounting services, and really someone who enjoys and wants to work in technical accounting and reporting. The bar discipline will include analysis of financial statements and financial information, including the use of data. It will test select technical reporting and accounting topics like business combinations, stock comp, and derivatives that not every newly licensed CPA might need to know. And then the higher order skills of revenue and leases, as well as some more detailed government accounting topics. So that's the bar exam in a nutshell. Information systems and controls is really geared to someone who would be interested in IT audit or advisory services with a concentration in cybersecurity or data management, data collection, and understanding how it flows through the data lifecycle. Working with tax compliance and planning, that's really someone who wants to see their career go in tax. And it will assess both tax compliance and planning for entities and individuals, as well as personal financial planning. So the design, all of the exam sections will be 4 hours long, which they are currently today. And you can see the breakout between MCQs and TBS here on the screen, but you can expect 4 hours of testing time for each of the exam sections. And if you move to the next slide, Kyle, I want to show the weighting. So today, each exam is 50% multiple choice and 50% TBS, and that's holding true for all exams except for the information systems and controls discipline, which will have 60% multiple choice questions and 40% TBS. Otherwise, the skill weightings hold true to how the exam is designed today. So we always want to tell candidates who are studying for the exam that it's important for you to have a strategy so that you can be successful. And I'm sure your review course provider is helping you do that. So understand the requirements. That's why you're here today. Using your time wisely is very important. Learning about what the exam tests, that helps with looking at those blueprints. Forming your network of support. You don't have to go this alone. Having support helps you to push forward, and then relying on the exam partners, making sure you're getting information directly from the source, whether it be NASBA or AICPA, you'll have the most current and up-to-date information. And then I want to point you, if you're not aware, of the candidate resources that NASBA and the AICPA have. So if you go to our website, which is aicpa.org/resources, you'll be able to see all things CPA exam. You'll have links to the sample test, which shows you how the exam will behave when you sit at the test center. It's the exact same user interface, so you can play around in there and get comfortable so that you take away any test day jitters before you go live into a Prometric test center. So that's very helpful. As well as if you move forward, we have This Way to CPA, which has a lot of resources for candidates as well. So if you haven't checked out those websites, we encourage you to do that. Moving forward. Are there any questions? I know that we're probably right on time, but if you have any questions, I wouldn't mind sticking around to answer them.
And I will add, Lori, with the NASBA resource, it looks like it got taken out, but the candidate guide, which is formerly the candidate bulletin, very informative on the process, maybe not as much on the exam content, but for candidates to go to NASBA's website and check that out as well.
Great.
So Kelly, before you, okay, so go on, move on.
Just a second, I'll just wanted to share the screen.
Okay, I'll stop sharing.
Because I think they are asking a lot on the deadline scale from NTS, from what is the CPA process and how does it play around. So I'll just take a couple of minutes before they kind of go into that. So guys, as you know, who all have enrolled with Simandhar, right? So you get the Simandhar LMS also, right? So if you go into the CPA thing, just go there and click continue there. And once you have, there is a CPA evaluation process step-by-step document, right? Who all have enrolled with Simandhar, you will get this in your LMS. The process is very good. You just need to go there and click on the CPA evaluation process step by step. It will give you deadline. When is NIS report coming? When should you apply for international testing? When should you apply for NTS? With timelines and everything, we have actually prepared that Excel sheet. Anyone who have joined Simandhar, right, or who are new CPA applicant, please go through that. It covers each and every step-by-step process, right? So what is the timeline? When should you apply? What time? And what documents need to be submitted? Everything is there in that Excel sheet, right? So this is what is Excel sheet you have, right? So there are step-by-step process. For every step, you need to raise an help desk ticket and you will get the link to that document to create NIS account or whatever, right? Your transcript, when should you apply for transcript? When should you apply for CPA Central? When should you apply for CPA portal? There's a step-by-step in a flowchart format we have given you. Okay, so we will need to avoid all these questions currently in Kyle's webinar because these are all process-related questions which we can take up. But other than that, the important questions like on the deadlines, on NASBA's thing, we can take that up. Over to you, Ania.
Thank you, sir. So Kelly, as this is a question related to the BEC, which is gonna drastically change after so many years of time. So how would the difficulty levels be? So many of the students are getting panic how it would be because this is the first time that the changes are happening, and how easy or how difficulty it would for them, because it's difficult for every student to go because of the challenges facing in terms of transcripts and all. So if you just tell on this.
I would say that the difficulty is hard for me to say. It's subjective to how prepared the candidate is, but the exams are all designed to be equivalent. So it's not as if one exam is going to be easier than the other. They're focusing on different content. So if you have an interest or you're strong in a certain area, then perhaps you might want to gear yourself towards that area. So for me, tax, I never had any experience in tax. I didn't really like that subject all that much. So I probably wouldn't take tax compliance and planning. I was an auditor, so I would take I would either take the bar discipline or the information systems and controls discipline would probably be where, if I were a candidate today. That's only based on my experience. So every candidate is different. I can't say one path is better than the other. It's an individual choice, which I think is the beauty now of this new model, is candidates can really choose from themselves where they want to spend some extra time and focus.
Thank you, Kelly. Thank you so much.
And I also want to say that BEC is going away entirely. The content that is in BEC is not going away though. That subject matter is being allocated to all of the exam sections except for tax compliance and planning and reg. But OD, FAR, ISC, and BAR are all getting some of the content that historically was tested in BEC. So BEC doesn't become a discipline. BEC goes away and the disciplines are introduced. That's just the clarification that I wanted to make.
So Lori, what as per you, what are the 2 top sections students should give this year? If you were the student.
I think it's a personal choice, but if candidates want to take BEC today because They have the materials, they've already paid for it. Of course, there's some logistics that make sense to get that done before the launch of the new exam. But some candidates might say, listen, I don't really care to take BEC and I would prefer to take a discipline. So again, it really is an individual choice. I can't give advice one
So
way.
what could be the next best section, Laurie, after BEC?
Can you please, what do you mean? What would be the next best section?
So yeah, along with BEC, what is the next section is what they want to us to plan.
I can't give that advice. It's basically a decision based on where you feel most prepared. So if you are, the section you want to take is the section that you think you have a chance at passing and where you're most prepared. You don't want to go into an exam blind just because, you know, it's going away or whatever reason. You want to make sure you're adequately prepared once you feel that you are, or at least give yourself some wiggle room and time for planning. You know, you might want to send the application before you're fully prepared because there's time involved with getting that through the process, but make sure that you concentrate your efforts to prepare for the section. And I'm sure you guys have some strategies that you might advise your candidates and students to do, but we as the AICPA don't have a view to provide.
So a question to you, Kyle, actually is one of the students have collected transcripts from university, but it is not sent by courier. It does have the address and is in a university sealed envelope. It has stamp, but no signature on the envelope. Is it still acceptable by NASBA?
Yeah, as long as it is in the university sealed envelope and it is stamped, sealed. We see variations. It's great when the registrar or controller signs it as well, but as long as they're stamping it also and it remains unopened, that is okay.
Okay. And Laurie, when would the practice paper, the AICPA sample papers of 2024 would be available?
Yes, we're actually working through finalizing the sample tests now. They'll be available within the next week or two, I would say. It's going to happen soon.
Okay. Okay. So will the authoritative literature be going away from FAR 2024?
Yes, so that is one of the big changes with evolution, is that the authoritative library will no longer be in the exam sections. However, that doesn't mean research is going away. So we're moving more towards a task-based research item where candidates will be given a set of facts as well as the respective literature, and then they'll have to read through the literature, understand it, apply it to the situation, and answer questions. So we're not taking research away, but we're taking the full library of the authoritative literature away, effective in 2024. That's a great question.
Anu.
And Kelly, so this is one of the questions that most students are asking. So because of this changes, student who write this year and gets it cleared, and students who are taking the new pattern next year, will there be any judgment done? I mean, any chances, like if they are looking for some chances of getting into industry, like working options or something like that, will they be differentiated? How would the chances be? Will they be equally?
So I think the question is, Laurie, will they be judged based on the old and new in the job market?
I think that, you know, it's really important to remember that the CPA license, whether you get it today or whether you get it through Evolution, is the same CPA license. However, you know, if you're working for a firm, and that's something that you might want to ask your prospective employer, if you have a relationship, if you're an intern and you're going to move into a full-time position, is there a specific exam section that they would prefer that you take? Some firms may have that based on their hiring needs. However, the license is still one CPA license and gives you the same responsibilities and privileges that it does today. So they are all valuable. having a CPA after your name will open so many doors. And, even if I want to make also, which I might have glossed by because we were running short on time, is if you start and you become a CPA by taking the information systems and controls discipline, doesn't mean that you have to continue your entire career in IT audit or advisory. As long as you get experience in other areas, and our professional standards dictate you can't take an engagement for which you're not qualified to perform, but it doesn't pigeonhole you in that for the remainder of your career. It's just, the start of the process.
So, Kyle, we have a question because Delhi have seen some floods, right? So that would actually kind of delay the transcript process. So will there be any waivers for the candidates from Delhi?
No, we can't do that because, this is especially, if they're trying to get in for BEC, we'll try our best to make that so we can get to stuff even later than August 4th, but I don't want to guarantee that. That's why I put the August 4th deadline. But we can't change how the system is going to stop generating the BEC notice of schedule. I mean, that is something. So I can't give a waiver and say, oh, you can take BEC in January. It's not going to happen. So now, if they don't care about BEC and they want to take one of the core sections, that notice of schedule is still valid going in 2024, so they don't have to worry about it as much. So, I mean, one thing they could try to do is get, I don't know if they'll email it to us directly, like the registrar or controller of exams, but that may speed it up for them if they can urge Delhi to do that. I assume you're talking about University of Delhi. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I think there's huge, there's a lot of floods and all in Delhi. So the situation is a little critical in the capital city. So that's where I think the students are a little worried because all the universities are closed for next 2 weeks because of the calamity.
I'm sorry to hear that, but no, I'm sorry. Because of how the systems are working, we cannot give any waivers. BEC is absolutely going away. And it's just not feasible technology wise to give a waiver and offer it again.
That's NASBA, right? Very strict on the standards. Okay. Yeah.
One more question. So would CPA licensed candidates having TCP as discipline will have an added advantage when pursuing their career in taxation?
I would say likely yes, because they've shown to their employer, if they're interested in starting their career in taxation, that they've gone through that respective discipline, which is aligned to their prospective work. So I think it does help, but again, it doesn't differentiate. You're not a CPA tax or a CPA information systems and control. Once you pass the exam, you are a CPA.
Thank you, Kelly.
So Kyle, are we having any expedite option? If students pay more, can NASBA expedite the evaluation report as well?
No, I'm sorry, but that's this is not the time to try to launch that. Depending on the volume, that may spike tremendously if we offered that, and then making sure we have the capacity. So that will not be an option. Sorry about that.
Okay.
But like I said, I did create something to try to make sure that we can not only get the people by August 4th, but like I'm not guaranteeing anything after that, but we will try our best by having people extra hands and do things to do what we can for those people, especially the ones trying to test in 2023. And one thing I will add, just because I've gotten questions in the past, and Lori, I apologize if you covered this, but how she said you can only pass one discipline. Let's say you fail the discipline, you are not tied to that same discipline. So I remember this question several times. You could, if you fail tax and you're like, gosh, why'd I do that? I'm not good at tax. You could take the bar, and if you pass the bar, great. So that's kind of a cool option that they can tailor toward their strengths.
Absolutely, Kyle. Thanks for clarifying that.
Yes, Anuya, next question.
I'm from California board, received WES evaluation report, but haven't applied for CBA account yet. Will I be eligible seeing to this August 4th date? Is August 4th date is for WES evaluation report also?
So the August 4th is for a candidate that needs the NIS International Evaluation Report. So the date that they need to be concerned with is they have to apply with California for the CPA exam, and that date is October 1st. And make sure California gets that WES report or whatever they have. And I would not wait until late in September. I would go ahead and do that now then, if that's what they want to do.
Thank you. And this is a constant question I keep coming across during my counseling sessions also. So how long usually an evaluation report is valid for?
So and on our website, so the evaluation is 1 year. So it's valid for a year. If they wait longer than that, it can still be valid, but we may have to send a duplicate copy to the Board of Accountancy. And so they have really the best answer then is 5 years, because after 5 years, they have to start over and do it again. But if it's within 1 year, they don't even have to do anything. The board should still have it. If it's between 1 and 5 years, they may need to pay us $25 so we can send a duplicate copy to the destination. And if it's longer than 5 years, we'll have to do the whole process over again.
So guys, this is very important, right? So you need to pay $25 after 1 year of evaluation. So what is the option they will select in NASBA, Kyle?
It's
Where
called
they
the
will pay the
duplicate
$25?
report. It is on our NASBA International Evaluations page. On our services and fees, you'll see a button to apply for the $25 duplicate report. And for that, it's not an 8-week processing time for that. Those go pretty quickly. 1 to 2 weeks, we'll have it to the board. So if it's been longer than a year, and you're ready to actually now pursue it, go ahead and do that. I still wouldn't wait, but you're not tied to that same August 4th deadline that those new candidates are, where we have to do all of our conversions and things like that.
Is there a checkbox provided in NASBA that I have to select if I want to give BEC in 23? I can't see that.
So I just created this earlier in the week for NIS, that's NASBA International Evaluation Services applicants. Within their user account, there's a question asking them. It's just a yes or no answer if they plan, and that just helps me know the workload better for my staff. So I'm trying to gauge it, because obviously if someone doesn't care about testing in 2023, I can, as we get closer to these deadlines, make sure I get through as many as I can for ones that want to test. So if you've applied for an evaluation this year, you could have done it a month ago and you're still working on documents. You'll see that in your user account. So answer that appropriately for me. It will just help me with my strategic planning for the next couple months.
Thank you, Kyle.
Kyle, one question I had basically was, okay, I've forgotten. I'll just come back.
What if someone is preparing for other sections after clearing BEC and plans to give the exam in next year? In that case, the current syllabus or books we have will not be useful, and whether we should prepare from the new books for FAR, audit and reg.
So Anuya, I think that is not to do with NASBA or AICPA. We can take that offline. So students who are already have got the Becker and Simandhar materials, they are well and good for audit and BEC. After that, when the new books come, they will be coming in the month of October end or max November, right? So start preparing from the existing materials and start giving the exam. So Kyle, I just recollected the question which I had. So can they send the original documents instead of transcripts to NASBA? Because transcripts are taking a lot of time, and just for the benefit of the audience here, so transcript is nothing but your Xerox copies of your mark sheet and convocation degree certificate is put it into a sealed envelope and is signed by the registrar and all, and that envelope can't be opened. That is known as a transcript, right? So instead of that, can they just give the originals, Kyle?
No, I'm sorry. We're not opening up to originals. That just opens us up to too many other options that could happen. So what I will say is, you mentioned transcripts, but whatever they can get from their university, whether it's the transcript, the consolidated mark sheet, individual mark sheets, whatever they can get, we'll accept all of those, as long as it's, you know, sent to us directly from the school, emailed to us directly from the school, or in the sealed envelope with, you know, the stamp and the documents are signed off within it. So given all those methods, but we're not taking those original documents directly from the candidate without being put in from the school, in those stamped, sealed, signed envelopes like we talked about.
So Lori, will the written communication also will go away from BEC?
Yes, with BEC being sunsetted, there will no longer be written communication effective in January with the new evolution exams. That's correct.
So Kyle, that 1 year thing is not for the people who are reappearing, right? I mean, for evaluation report, like who have already written 2 exams and have passed. So for 3rd and 4th exam, the evaluation report validity doesn't make sense, right?
Yeah, so those are considered what we call re-examination candidates. They don't have to go through the eligibility process again if they were already found eligible by the board. They just apply and they have their notice of schedule generated automatically in just a few days or a week or less. So this I'm talking about, the duplicate report is for candidates who went through the NIS process but never even applied with their Board of Accountancy or with CPA Central. They just didn't pursue it. If it's been longer than a year, they don't have that report anymore. They don't keep it on hand indefinitely. So we'll have to just send them another copy so they can apply as a first-time candidate and get their eligibility determined.
Okay. Yes,
I have sent my supporting docs such as passport, COE, transcripts, and all to NIS NASBA on June 25th. So will I get my evaluation report from the state board before September 30th?
Yeah, so that's I mentioned the August 4th deadline. So it sounds like they did it well before that. So since they were June 25th when it arrived at NASBA, and I'm assuming they also applied and paid the fee with NIS, they're good. We'll get through them in plenty of time.
And how soon will the CPA portal will be taken away from the system?
So that will be the CPA portal is launching, which is replacing CPA Central on September 1st. So that will be the new system where they apply for the CPA exam. It should be really well. Like I said, it'll take away the extra user account, because right now, you know, they apply to NIS, they do the user account, they apply to CPA Central. So it's taking away CPA Central, and they're applying for their user account within that CPA, like the Okta, they're applying for that. That's where they also get their notice of schedule. They also see their scores. So it's condensing it, making it a little more user-friendly. So I'm excited about that, but that launches September 1st.
Thank you, guys.
So Kyle, what is the last date for evaluation for audit exam this year? We can mention the month along with date.
So the last date they can take the audit exam or any exam this year is December 15th, 2023.
Evaluation to submit the documents to NASBA in order to sit for the December 15th exam.
Yes. So if you're just getting started, the last day to make sure you have applied and the documents have also arrived at NASBA for my international evaluation team is August 4th.
Oh, that's for BEC, right, Kyle? What is for other 3?
I'm sorry, repeat that.
That's for BEC, right? What about audit, FAR, and reg?
So I don't have a deadline for that because those continuously process. Just knowing that if they could get that at any time. So I didn't make a deadline for that.
But strictly talking, it should be November only, right, Kyle? Because they are planning somewhere in December 15th.
Yeah, I mean, I would say before November, because
before November, right?
Because they can't. They still need to give time for the evaluation and for the eligibility determination from our CPA exam team. And if they get the notice of schedule in the 1st of November, you know, they're not really going to have time.
So, Kyle, the problem here is of the California board, because they are upgrading the software. So many of them are facing technical difficulties. So they will not be able to create CPA Central account because of that. So is there any waiver for California board candidates, or how's it like?
So the California board does their own approval process. They do not use CPA Central. So candidates that have an NIS report or any other evaluation report for California, because I believe they accept a few others, they have to apply directly with the California board. Now, they did tell us their deadline. It is the same as all the CPA states, as we call them. That is October 1st. So, I mean, if you have any specific questions for them, you would have to reach out for them for any, like their processing. And I don't think they will do waivers. Like I say, it's hard because BEC is going away. We don't have the ability to offer it after December 15th at the test centers. So that's, you did see California on the presentation. Apply with them. And I would do it before October 1st, but that's the deadline they gave, was October 1st is the last date to apply with them and have your documents arrive at the California board.
Okay. Yes, Anu.
Yeah, so most of the questions are for the same.
And I think
Actually,
we-
the
we,
option of taking BEC is not. Can you share the screen, Kyle, and show where that BEC option should be selected on the NASBA's account? Because everyone is telling that tick mark is not to be sure.
So let me, I'll show that. I know Lori has to drop off here in 1 minute, and
Sure,
I'll
sure.
have to drop off soon, but I will show that right before I leave. So because that is new, and it's, so give me a moment. I'll have to,
Yeah.
pull that
Before
system up.
that, Laurie, can you please answer this? So as there are changes happening from 2024, how soon can we get the process updates and the changes made in the syllabus?
Yes, so as I was mentioning, the blueprints, they were published earlier this year. So if you go to the AICPA's website, or if you search 2024 CPA Evolution Blueprints, you'll be able to have access to them. And it shows the outline, as I had an example for ODD, shows the syllabus, or it's really what we refer to as the blueprints, shows all of the content, skills, and weights that will be eligible for testing in each of the 6 exams. So please take a look at them. They're very helpful to you in strategizing your studying. But with that, I will.
So, Laurie, if the new sample report comes, right, the old sample papers goes off, or how's it like? If the 2024 sample papers come off AICPA, the older ones will go off from the website?
No, I believe there will be a period are going to be on our website, because we realize that candidates are still in the process of taking the current exam. So after January, of course, we'll remove that. But I think there will be, I'm pretty sure, I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure that there will be 2 versions of the sample test up for a period of time while students are preparing for 24, but maybe also taking the current exam.
Okay.
Thank
I
you,
think
everyone.
this was very, very helpful. Thank you so much, Laurie. It's amazing
course.
that you have been
Good
there
luck.
for 1.5 hour. Thank you so much for giving your time. Really means a lot to us and our students.
Wonderful. Good luck, everyone, with your studying and your path to licensure. Take care.
It was a pleasure having you both today on this platform. Have a
Thanks,
wonderful
Laurie.
day and a weekend.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
All right,
Thank you
just
so
give
much,
me
Kyle.
another minute. I should be ready to share this.
I hope he has the sharing access on it.
Yeah,
Yes,
I
sir.
do.
Yeah, okay.
I want to make sure I get there to the correct location first. Okay, I will start to share my screen now. And I'm just, I'm taking a screenshot so I can black out a person's name. I don't want to share a name with everyone here. Okay, so this is the question that launched. And what it is, it simply states it's what we call our questionnaires. So when you're going through your NIS user account, you're probably familiar with, if you've done it, you have to indicate your education history, which tells us what schools you attended. So the education history is a questionnaire as well, just like this is. So they're all right in the same section. And it simply says, do you plan to test for BEC or other CPA exam sections prior to December 15, 2023? So that can help me plan. So it's just a simple yes or no question that you can select from this drop down. And then it gives some instructions, just basically what everyone who attended this will know about how BEC or how December 15th is the last day you can test. It tells about the October 1st deadline. So just informing you of that. And so as you're filling out an account, doing the evaluation process, please answer that. And that will help me to try to get through as many as I can. So yeah, any questions about that?
Yeah, I hope this helps to everyone, right? Because they were not able to select is what they were telling. You might need to check that, Kyle. I think if it's with everyone or it's just a one-off case. I've just set them to reach out to NASBA. So Kyle, if they have any issues in with respect to the NASBA processing or something, is there a email ID or a helpline number of NASBA which they can contact?
Yeah, I will give two. So I'll give an email and then our helpline number. So the email is simply NIES@NASBA.org. And then the helpline, let me stop sharing. Let me make sure I get the correct toll-free number since many of them will be dialing from India. So that number is 1 for the US country code, and then 855-468-5382. And that is our toll-free number.
Yeah. So it's 855
468
Mhm.
5382.
Yeah. Okay, I think this was really amazing. Thank you so much, Kyle. This was 1.5 hours. So I know you're not at all accustomed to such long webinars, though normally when Simandhar conducts any webinar, it goes for 2.5 hours. But for sure, you will not say for 2.5 hours. Because whenever I give a webinar, I think it will go to 2.5 to 3 hours also. And the candidates are like 700 or 800 in my Zoom. So today, luckily, we have just capped it at 500 and remaining 500 have gone through YouTube or something like that. Thank you so much for giving this valuable time, Kyle. It means a lot to Simandhar and to the students, considering that we have huge number of students who have enrolled with Simandhar and they're planning to give exam this year. So I wanted that this webinar happen because they listen from you, from NASBA and from AICPA, what are the realistic deadlines and all, so that institutes are also proper and they plan it properly and just don't play around with the students, right? So it was very important to have this important webinar for all of them. Thank you so much for giving your valuable time, Kyle.
You're welcome. I hope it was helpful. And good
Thank
luck
you
to
so
everyone.
much. And thank you so much, everyone who have attended this webinar. And please raise an help desk ticket with Simandhar LMS. If you haven't got the LMS, go through your welcome email or junk emails or whatever, or get in touch with our help desk ticket system and raise a ticket accordingly. Request everyone to join our Telegram groups. They are the most important groups for your study preparation. If you have not joined, please do join, else you will think that you're doing a self-study at Simandhar. Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you, Anuya, and thank you, everyone, for attending this.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, everyone. Happy weekend ahead.